Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Blaine Edwards, and today we're joined by Elliot Hill, Head of Communications at OccamFi, a decentralized launchpad and DeFi platform built for Cardano. So, Elliot, cheers for coming on the show.
Hi, Blaine. It's good to be here. Glad to
Yeah,
join you.
yeah, no worries. Good to have you on. To start us off, can you please tell the podcast a bit about who you are and how you got involved with this beautiful world of crypto?
Yeah, sure. So it's not often actually that I get to talk about myself, usually talking about the project more. So I got started with crypto back in 2017. It was sort of the days of the ICO craze. There was tons of projects launching, some of them really shady, some of them pretty good. I was actually doing like a PhD at the time in environmental science, totally unrelated to blockchain. But I started reading a lot, I went on a lot of internet forums and stuff, and they were always talking about Bitcoin, and then Ethereum was just coming into prominence. I thought, oh, this is quite interesting, It got to the point where I was reading way more about blockchain and the actual, like academic theory behind blockchain than I was about my PhD subject. So I left like a fully funded PhD, which my professor wasn't very happy about, and just
Yeah.
started writing for the blockchain industry. I wrote a lot, moved into PR, and I was always interested in Cardano. So since 2017, where Cardano launched, I was like there in the forums, probably one of the early users of the forums, just writing everything I could about Cardano. And it took me a lot of pestering the Cardano Foundation and IOHK and sometimes Emergo, but eventually they let me in. And I started working for the Cardano Foundation as communications and engagement manager. And just built on from there, really. Obviously now the focus is with Occam. So I've been at Occam since I think it was about May, I think. Can't remember, like it's gone super quick.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's
The rest is
basically my
history.
journey this far. But
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity of working with some really great blockchain companies in between then, like Chainlink, Signum Bank, Digital Bank, and some other like pretty big protocols. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's
that's
been
cool,
cool.
bro. Yeah, that's cool. So you were there from the very early days, and then got your way into Cardano Foundation, and then obviously with OccamFi at the moment. Um, so for those that aren't familiar with the project you're working on at the moment, what is OccamFi?
Yeah, so OccamFi is a decentralized ecosystem for DeFi on Cardano. So we've got sort of like two core features. We've got our Occam Raiser launchpad, which you can launch projects through and do IDO raises on like for Cardano projects. And we've also got Occam X, which we actually announced some more details of today. And that's like an ecosystem, a DEX ecosystem for the trading of Cardano native tokens. So those are our like two main like products, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously they're all tied together by the OCC token. So you need OCC token to participate in IDOs on Occam Raiser, and you need the OCC token to get OCX, which is like the token that powers our DEX. So it's like a threefold ecosystem. Yeah.
Okay, so everyone's quite familiar with Occam Raiser, the launchpad that's currently kind of in the works. People can participate and use that. Currently on Ethereum, though, obviously, because smart contracts aren't live at the moment. Could you speak about the DEX part of the ecosystem and I guess what that looks like, and are there any kind of unique features to your DEX compared to maybe the norm? Is that something you can talk about?
Yeah, definitely. So we actually released like a press release today about the DEX. And it was focused on, so we're not building the DEX on Ethereum. It's going to be built first and foremost for Cardano. Obviously it's a Cardano DEX, and we want to reiterate our, commitment to the Cardano ecosystem. And maybe we can talk a little bit later about, we've got some backing from official Cardano entities. So they that means we've sort of got to build the DEX for Cardano ecosystem, which obviously we
Yeah.
want to do. and we've had some support there with building out the Cardano smart contracts required to power the DEX. So it's going to be pretty similar to DEX that people are familiar with, like Uniswaps. But it's going to have some unique features around like staking and liquidity provision. And they're going to be powered by their own like DEX token. And also what we're quite proud of, and what our release today was about, is that on Cardano, because of the extended UTXO accounting model, there's been issues around, I think, what the developers call the concurrency problem. Okay. Which is basically, it's quite difficult for a lot of users to send multiple transactions at the same time because of the way the accounting model works on Cardano. And this problem has been spoken a lot about, you know, at IOHK, and we've done some blog pieces on it. But our developers have come up with like quite a novel solution, like quite a novel workaround. So it was a major milestone that we're really proud to announce today. I could actually find exactly what that's called. But
there's like a post on your Twitter or on your website.
Yeah,
and stuff.
Yeah, you could read about it. If you're a technical user, then go away and have a read. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Or add some links and whatnot to that for those that want to kind of dive deep into the details around what that looks like and how that works.
Yeah, so I mean, some of those technical details definitely go a little bit over my head.
Well, definitely mine then as well. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's the ecosystem. So there's a launchpad, there's a DEX, you have the token, obviously. I heard somewhere that there's potentially some sort of incubator potentially in the future, which would be kind of cool. That would make sense with, you know, the launchpad, like a continuation of that, obviously the precursor to that. There are launchpads currently in the works on Cardano, and there's some DEXs are obviously in the works in Cardano as well. How does OccamFi plan to differentiate itself from these other similar DeFi products?
Sure, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, probably we can talk a little bit about the accelerator as well, because that's one of the ways that we will differentiate ourselves. But I actually think it's not so important at this stage to think about direct competition. I think in Ethereum, we've got a lot of different protocols and a lot of different projects that they essentially have like very similar use cases, but they all still carve out their own market niche. A little bit like we've got Uniswap, 1inch exchange, there's PancakeSwap as well, you know, and I think there's going to be room in the Cardano ecosystem because we think it's going to be absolutely huge. There's going to be room like for multiple different launch pads and multiple different DEXs to thrive. And that's like good for Cardano as well, right? The more that build on it, you know, the better for everyone on the Cardano blockchain. So right now we're just focused on getting our infrastructure out and ready on Cardano. That's our core focus. And who knows, maybe in the future, there might even be avenues to work with some of the other launch pads and exchanges that are out there. Yeah. But one of the things we're doing to make sure that we really support the Cardano ecosystem and maybe set ourselves apart a little bit, as you mentioned, is the accelerator program. So the accelerator program is an incubator that's been set up by Occam, and any stage of project can come through it. Get funding to launch, and we'll help take the project all the way from inception all the way through to an IDO, and then the eventual launch of either a Cardano native token or the smart contracts on Cardano, or whatever that might look like, whatever success might look like to these early Cardano projects. And we sort of see this as like a logical extension of maybe Catalyst. So once projects have come through Catalyst, obviously Catalyst is a really great ideation platform. So I kind of think about it as like a validation platform where people can vote on whether you've got a good idea or not. And then you get some early funding, you get inspired, you can maybe hire some some developers or some more developers. And then you can sort of come with that idea and early funding to the accelerator and really formalize it, make it into a standalone project, and then boost it through and come through an IDO and do like a fully fledged launch. So we think they're two really important features that are going to bring a lot more, projects into the Cardano ecosystem in time.
Yeah, awesome. There's a couple of interesting points there that particularly kind of struck me. One was the idea that this ecosystem, this world of cryptocurrency is going to be huge, and so from like a supply demand level, there's got to be so much demand. So kind of worrying too much about another competitor in the space may not be a good idea, because there's probably enough for everyone to kind of get involved and win in this space. So that's an interesting point, number one. And then also the accelerator, and then potentially link that with Project Catalyst is a really good idea, because Project Catalyst is obviously an awesome thing. And having some way to add to that and create these products that complement that whole process is also kind of a good idea. So you mentioned that was kind of like potentially some way to verify an idea is like a good idea. They get initial funding, and then where to from there, and then providing a solution where they can further develop that idea, develop that concept, and then you can develop to a point where it's even getting launched on a launch pad and then going out to market. So kind of each step of that roadmap for them, from idea to kind of market, there are things in place to help support them along that journey. So that's cool. And linking with Project Catalyst, I always whenever I get a chance to talk about Project Catalyst, I do, because it's such a cool part of Cardano. So moving on to so you mentioned Emergo earlier. You want to talk about that partnership with Emergo and also C Fund, the reasoning behind that partnership and what that means for Occam moving forward?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's like, it is a partnership, it's a strategic partnership, but more than that, the C Fund and Emergo have actually made investments into Occam as a project. Okay. So maybe, I think probably a lot of you viewers already know who Emergo are, but for those that maybe don't, they're one of the 3 founding entities of the Cardano blockchain. So alongside the Cardano Foundation and IOHK. So Emergo were like an early venture arm for Cardano. And actually, they've sponsored, quite and invested in quite a few companies over the years. But I mean, I think we're really going to see some action from Emergo now in the next few months or over the next year. And now that smart contracts are ready and people can actually build like significant projects on Cardano, I think that, yeah, Emergo are going to be a lot busier, and it'll be interesting to see what they get involved in. So yeah, the first investment was from Emergo. We're really excited to work with them. Obviously, they've got deep expertise as being one of the founding entities. And then the second investment was from C Fund. So C Fund is it's a VC, and it's aligned with IOHK, IOG now. And it's administered by Wave Financial. Wave Financial are like a really well-known like financial management and asset management firm out of the US, I believe. So, Charles Hoskinson is an advisor there at the C Fund. He works very closely with them. And in turn, we work very closely with IOG as well, and the C Fund to make sure that we're building for Cardano. And actually, I was recording a segment for another show, which I can't give away just yet, but it's a pretty big Cardano ecosystem show earlier today. And, I use the analogy that by having the investment from these two companies, Emergo and C Fund, and by extension IOHK, it holds Occam accountable that we are actually building for the good of the Cardano ecosystem. We are, to a certain degree, like I wouldn't say answerable, because we work really closely with them, and we always try and build to the build for the benefit of Cardano anyway. But now, like, our community can be sure, like, it's like an endorsement that we are here for the good of the Cardano community. So it was really big for us. It was a huge announcement, and we're really proud to announce it. It was a long time in the works. We've already had some great meetings with C-Fund about what lies ahead for the future of Occam.
Yeah, definitely. So that, yeah, from a user and investor point of view, people that are invested in Occam or maybe thinking about it, having support by Mergo is pretty huge. I mean, it's almost like this level of reassurance, knowing that you've linked with someone as fundamental to Cardano as a Mergo. So yeah, pretty big deal. So exciting to see kind of how this evolves with kind of more intimate ties with organizations like Mergo and C-Fund. But along the lines of partnerships and relationships within the ecosystem, I see recently you've been the lead sponsor for ADA Makerspace, the hackathon there. Do you want to talk about that? Maybe talk about what ADA Makerspace is and what this relationship means, or this relationship means for you and OccamFi moving forward. Like, what does that whole sponsorship and relationship mean?
Yeah, sure. So maybe just kick off with talking a little bit about ADA Makerspace. So ADA Makerspace is joint run by two veteran Cardano developers. And they originally started by making Marlowe tutorials. So the financial DSL, for smart contracts, Marlowe, they did like a really comprehensive series going through that and how to use the Marlowe playground. And I first sort of highlighted that when I was working at CF. We started a developer spotlight series, and we spoke a little bit about ADA Makerspace. And then, when I was at OccamFi, they sort of popped up, and we saw that they were doing a hackathon, and we thought this is really cool. Like, it's a community grassroots hackathon. It would be cool to get involved. So yeah, we spoke with Boone, who was organizing it there, and just went from there. Really, it kicked off last Friday. It's still going on as we speak. So we've got two challenges in the hackathon. They're both the creation of Haskell modules to make backend development a little bit easier for developers on Cardano. And yeah, there's some really talented individuals there. We had some presentations last Friday. There was a lot of things being built, and it's really cool to see, like, I'm not sure how many people. I've never really been in that circle of the developers on Cardano. I've always been way more just an interest group, and then working for the Cardano Foundation. Obviously, I knew there was loads of people that were way smarter than me that were building and looking at building on Cardano, but I'd never really had the chance to talk to them too much. It was really interesting to see how all those guys already knew each other. They all knew what each other was working on. So it was really cool to see, like, the community that's already formed, even though like smart contracts aren't live yet. There's such a strong community in the Cardano space, and especially the developer community, and it was a real pleasure for us to sponsor that. And hopefully we get like a couple of solutions, like they can help us out as well. A few bits that we probably, I won't say stuck on, because then our developers won't be very happy, but a few things that we would love to see developed on Cardano.
And so there's currently a hackathon in the works at the moment, and I imagine there's going to be more kind of in the future, more of these hackathons. And so for those that want to get involved in those, how would they find more information about that?
Sure, yeah. So this is like the ADA Makerspace experiential hackathon, and it's kind of like an MVP. Like, it's the first time that they've done one, which is why as well, like, we were happy to sponsor it to see it grow. I think they just, and maybe I could give you the link. You could drop it in the video
share the
description.
Link for sure. Yeah,
they just head over to ADA Makerspace website. They can see all the challenges. You can, like, if you want to have a go at solving a challenge. You can write up the module and the code on GitHub and then share the repo with us. And the winners of the like individual challenges, there is like ADA bounties up for grabs. So I think we have like 1,500 ADA for the one challenge, and then 1,000 ADA for the other. So they're well worth looking into if you're a developer. The challenges aren't too technical, so do head to that link and have a look. Yeah,
definitely. We'll definitely include that link. People check that out. Just wanted to quickly mention this whole community in Cardano is pretty special, I think. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think so. And because this whole movement is early days, it is such a rich experience, just people getting involved, whether if you're a developer, getting involved with the ADA Makerspace Hackathon. But there are so many different kind of community events scattered throughout Cardano. And I'd highly recommend just people just going into these, whether it's a Project Catalyst Swarm kind of meet up on Saturdays or whatever it is, just dive in there, meet people in the space, because it is early days and you get to meet a range of people in different fields, marketing or developing or entrepreneurs. And in these meetups, you mix with a range of different people, and it's early days, so you get to create these relationships. So just wanted to throw that in there. So you mentioned the Launchpad is kind of the main product at the moment. And obviously Launchpad is one where you do these IDOs. Can you talk about any of the upcoming IDOs on Occam?
Yeah, we definitely can. So we had one on Monday, actually, which was Card Wallet. They're really cool. They just listed secondary market trading today, actually.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think they're doing pretty well when I last checked. But, you know, aside from price action, they're a super, super cool Cardano-based wallet. So they're going to have native support for Cardano native tokens. They're going to have Apple Pay, MasterCard, Visa, Fiat on-ramps. And they're basically founded by a guy I used to work with, Tiago Serodio at Cardano Foundation. And he headed up the ambassador program for the Cardano Foundation. And also Victoria, who is the ex-CEO of Cointelegraph. They've got some advisors from Emergo in there and Dash as well. So they're a really cool project. I'm really excited to see what they build in the coming months. So then the next IDO we have coming up, I think they'll be early September. We're not actually allowed to announce the date just yet, but it's Theos. And Theos are like an NFT minting platform, but they're one that actually empowers artists rather than churning out, I would say, like the same sort of NFTs for a quick buck. They really focus on the individual artist and the individual creator. They're founded by the co-founder of Virgin Galactic, so Alex Tai. And their creative director is Matt Sorum, who's the ex Guns N' Roses drummer. And he actually works with those guys. So they're a really cool lineup. I was speaking to them today, actually, like getting them prepared for their IDO. I'm really excited about those. They've got really cool creators marketplace. Just trying to think who else. We've got a lot in the pipeline now. We've got Legity coming up. So Legity are like a French project, and they're building personal private banking infrastructure on Cardano. Their IDO is on the 23rd of August. They're really cool. They're more for like institutional users, but they're going to democratize access to a lot of financial products using the Cardano blockchain. And then we've got a big announcement actually coming up probably early next week about a blockchain esports ecosystem, which has some really, really cool backing from like very big names in the industry. So
interesting.
We're excited to announce that one. Yeah, that's going to be big. Yeah.
Obviously, esports is trending at the moment, so I think that's quite a good one. So that the information around that's not launched yet, but it's keep an eye out for updates on that.
Yeah, so it'll be out in the next week, definitely. And what I would say about the guys who are building this esports platform, They already have a really successful esports game with, you know, millions of players. So it's not like they're a brand new team to the market. They're launching a blockchain component for and built on Cardano.
Wow.
But yeah, they're already pretty established in the esports space. So we're pretty excited to announce that. Yeah,
that's an exciting one. Awesome. Keen to check out the news on that one later this week. On the IDOs though, what is that selection process and the selection criteria for someone that's wanting to launch on your platform to get the tick of approval? Like, what is the criteria? Because obviously from an investor point of view, it's nice to know if there's some sort of you know, process they need to go through to verify that they're legit or they can provide value, etc. So what does that selection process look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So they have to pass our due diligence requirements, and that usually starts with, at the very minimum, they have to have sound tokenomics, and then they have to have smart contract audits by like a third party, like an independent verified third party. So for instance, like we're verified with like Certic, so they'd have to get like a Certic audit or something like that. Then they have to go through like basically like a project soundness check. So, you know, what's the goal of your project? Like, is it really impactful? You know, what value is it going to bring? And then finally, it's always a requirement of IDOing on OccamRaiser that you are building, or at least like considering launching components on the Cardano blockchain. So it's not enough really to say, oh, we're launching on, I don't know, Polkadot, and we also want to like get some value from the Cardano community, so we're going to launch an IDO on OccamRaiser too. They'd have to actually show us that they were building some components on Cardano. If they're blockchain agnostic and they're building Cardano components as well as Ethereum and Polkadot, that's fine, because we do want to promote interoperability, and we think that's really important, which is like our stance as well. And I think it's probably the stance of like official Cardano entities that blockchains are going to have to talk to each other in the future. But if they've got no focus or any plans for Cardano at all, then it's a no from us. So that's something we're really proud about. But yeah, other than that, they have to go through, you know, the team has to go through due diligence. And it's really quite a long process. So I would say, like, don't be daunted if you're an IDO that wants to like come through the OccamRaiser IDO, OccamRaiser Launchpad. We've got some really cool biz dev guys who guide you through the process. But we do ensure that teams are not there to like make a quick buck and then run off with the tokens. We also make sure that any private round tokens that the teams may have raised are vested correctly, so they can't just be, you know, dumped on the open market when secondary market trading starts. So yeah, we're quite proud of our due diligence procedure. When we first started, it took us a little while to get like a pipeline of projects through that due diligence procedure, which is why we had a little lag time between our launch and then when we had the first like projects coming through, like in a nice flow. But now we've got a pipeline of about 6 IDOs lined up. They've passed due diligence, and you can be sure that all of these projects are of a high quality. So we've done a bit like the Cardano blockchain has done. We take a little time, maybe a bit longer than some others, but we bring like real quality when we do launch.
Yeah. So they may be slow at the beginning, but you're trying to get the processes right and solid before kind of picking up the
exactly
pace. One more quick question on IDOs before we move on. Is there a plan once these systems are optimized and they start rolling things out on a more regular basis? Is there like a target of roughly how many IDOs you're wanting to launch on your platform? Like, let's say every month, is there like a rough target that you guys are working towards?
So we originally said, I think the target was 4 IDOs a month. That would still be like in a perfect scenario. But what we've really tried to reiterate to our community recently is that we're a decentralized launchpad. And essentially what that means is if we were a centralized launchpad, like say you can launch through Binance, we would onboard like new projects and say, this is when you're going to launch, this is when your token sale is going to be, this is when we say goodbye to you, that's it, you're done. But we take on projects, we do due diligence, and then when they launch, so when they originate their pool and when they do their token sale, that's all totally up to them. We want to give the power and keep the power in the hands of the projects. So usually we try and get like a solid date, but if a project would like to postpone their IDO, they're freely within their power to do so.
Gotcha.
And we think that's really important if you're going to be a decentralized launchpad, to give the projects that power. But we still aim for 4 IDOs per month. I think we're going to have 2 or 3 this month, definitely 2 or 3 next month. And then, you know, as we think we're going to be super busy when smart contracts do become live, because there's going to be loads and loads of new projects starting for Cardano. So
yeah, I think that's a fair prediction. Things are going to heat up for sure. On the topic of decentralization, and specifically when we're working in DeFi, I think it's, from me personally, I think it's important for a DeFi product to, if they want to call themselves decentralized, for there to be some sort of community governance strategy planned for the future of their protocol. So is this something that you guys are working on, integrating some form of community governance within OccamFi?
Yeah, so when we first released the OccamFi ecosystem in our white paper, we spoke about the Occam DAO. We don't have the DAO components yet in the early days of our like ecosystem. Obviously, there's a lot of things we need to iron out and straighten out. And before as well, we launch fully on Cardano, we need to build all the smart contracts there. We'd love it if it eventually became a self-governing ecosystem. And that's going to be one of the features of the OCC token in the future, is like voting on proposals for the ecosystem. Probably the first iteration of that we've already talked about with our community and we've talked about internally as well, is the introduction of OIPs, so Occam improvement proposals. This would be a way for like our community to propose and then vote on improvements to the OccamFi, like the entire OccamFi ecosystem. We're probably going to release this functionality with the release of the DEX. And then we're also going to have RFPs as well, so like request for proposal. So if there's something the community's identified that we can improve, we'll like, you know, request that the community submit their improvements or their proposals for that. So we've definitely got that plan in place. It would be something we'd love to do. Actually, Aave have got a really, really interesting way of doing it. They've just launched like a whole community-led proposal scheme. And you can like vote on all the different proposals that you want. I think they run it on Discourse. So a little bit similar to the Cardano forum. So it's quite interesting, like to see some of the discussions that go on there, and then you can like vote on what you would like to see built. I think that's the closest we could get to a DAO at the moment. Obviously, like DAOs in theory never really look like DAOs in practice. So
well, at least at the moment, you know what I mean? It's still early
yeah.
days. Yeah, but like as long as there's, you know, hopes to integrate it or thoughts to, you know, figure out what that could look like, because yeah, obviously at the moment people throw the word DAO around, and I don't think we clearly know what that exactly looks like and how to fully implement that in a way that actually makes sense today. But I think the idea is that we just iterate these ideas and it'll get to a point where hopefully it can become more kind of decentralized in the future. But yeah, early days at the moment for all of these sorts of things. So yeah, pretty much there is a plan. At the moment, you're limited to around what that could look like, but there are things in the roadmap to work on that particular part of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's plenty in the pipeline, and it's really something that we'd love to see implemented.
Yeah. So you built on Ethereum and to start off with, and
Mhm.
Cardano, there's smart contracts coming around the corner, and Sep 12, hopefully September 12th. What does that transition look like from Ethereum to Cardano? Can you walk through that? And you've got a bridge as well. What does that
Mhm.
mean? How can people use that, etc.?
Yeah, sure. So the OccamFi ecosystem was originally built on Ethereum because, I mean, there's a few reasons for this. For one, we wanted to build a presence in the space ahead of smart contracts. Obviously, we're a launch pad. So if we launched at the same time as smart contracts, we would be a launch pad launching among loads of other projects. So all those other projects that are essentially like our customers would be launching at the same time as us. So all of the problems that and issues and things that we've built and ironed out and made and processes that we've made good in the last like 6 months, we would have had to undertake right at the start of the smart contract era on Cardano. So we think we're in a really strong position now to really serve these early companies building on Cardano. So that's one reason. You spoke like you mentioned the bridge. So from our inception, we always wanted to build components for Cardano, but we also recognize that there's a lot of value locked on the Ethereum blockchain. Obviously, they've got first mover advantage, they've got the network effect, there's a lot of DApps. But we definitely believe that as soon as smart contracts become available on Cardano, there's going to be this flow of value from Ethereum and into Cardano DApps. But we actually identified that Cardano native tokens are already live and they've already been available to use since the Mary hard fork. So why not build a bridge to basically transfer value from ERC20 to what we call CNTs, Cardano native tokens, right now. So the first token we did this for is OCC. We minted the counterpart number of OCC as Cardano native tokens, as we did as ERC20 tokens. So now anyone can choose whether they want to hold OCC as either an Ethereum-based token or a Cardano-based token. What we'll probably do in the future is leave this bridge open and leave these like interoperable smart contracts open, because they'll serve as like a bridge for maybe, I don't know, in 6 months' time when Alonso is proven to be stable and it works and gas fees are a thing of the past, these like grumpy Ethereum DApps that are still paying like $200 in gas, maybe they'll think, oh, well, we want to move too. So maybe we could use OccamFi's bridge to bridge across the tokens. So it's definitely something we're going to leave open. We think that it's an important step in interoperability, but also in, and it sounds a little bit, I guess, cutthroat in a way, but siphoning value from the Ethereum blockchain and putting it into Cardano. And we really think that's going to happen. The transaction fees are lower on Cardano. It's more secure through Haskell, and the transaction times are faster too. So if we can help even one or two projects move across through that bridge and through that infrastructure, then that would be really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Having these bridges is one way to increase the Cardano user base. I mean, if there is an option for one person to go from one blockchain to the other because they think that the grass is greener on the other side, and there is an easy way for them to do that, I mean, then that's valuable for everyone. It's valuable for that person wanting to get greener grass, and it's also valuable for the Cardano ecosystem because it increases that user base. So yeah, very interesting. So the bridge is on your website, and they can go there and figure out how to use that. Couple more questions to go. Only a few more minutes to go. The Occam roadmap, what does that look like specifically for like this year, for the near future?
Yes, that's probably quite an easy one. So in terms of Occam Razor, it's just in terms of getting as many like innovative and really disruptive Cardano-based apps as we can to IDO through us. We're going to continue looking for quality over quantity. So we're really going to bring like the best quality projects and DApps that we can find. For OccamX, it's our launch. So we're going to launch the OccamX decentralized exchange on Cardano. And then what we'd really like to see flourish from that is like a secondary market trading venue where tokens could launch through Occam Razor and then find instant liquidity on OccamX, because at the moment, like they would have to launch an ERC20 token and then find secondary market liquidity on, say, Uniswap or SushiSwap or something like this. Whereas we would really love it if there was a Cardano DEX in place where they could launch an IDO with a Cardano native token and then find instant liquidity for that Cardano native token. So that's sort of our that's our vision there, is to create the first sort of like secondary market trading venue for Cardano.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, that makes sense from like a launch pad, having that as the next step. Yeah,
that would probably take us through to the end of the year, I think. If we're talking the end of 2021, that would probably take us through, and then we'll be on solid foot, and like we'll have like a fully functioning and like sort of self-sustaining ecosystem for Occam.
Yeah, and the accelerator, so the incubator, would that be a 2022 type feature?
Well, we've already had so DeFi was an accelerator project. They launched their IDO. They're one of the first to IDO with us. And also Theos is an accelerator project as well. Card Wallet was an accelerator project. So all of these projects came through and got not just like funding from the accelerator, but they also leveraged our support and that sort of thing. But yeah, we're definitely going to expand it. We've got some partners coming on, so some already well-known like blockchain educators in the space who we're going to work with. They already support a lot of companies. They're based in Crypto Valley, Zug. That should give you some idea of who they are. And we're going to work with those to really like to catalyze like projects on Cardano.
Yeah, awesome. So for those listening that want to learn more about Occam and what you guys are about, how can people support what you do and connect with you guys online?
Yeah, so there's loads of ways to connect. You can go to OccamFi. That's our website. You can follow us on Telegram, on Twitter. It's just OccamFi. And then we've also got a Discord channel if you like to hang out on Discord. We've just actually started Occam Razor TV as well. So I'm guessing if you're watching this, you like watching podcasts. So Occam Razor TV is like a new channel where we interview all of the project teams that are IDOing through the Occam Razor Launchpad. So you don't have to just buy the token to get involved. We'd like everyone to get involved and, watch our content, follow our channels. So yeah, jump in.
Yeah, cool. And closing question, what excites you the most about the future of Cardano?
That's a good question. Yeah. So, I mean, like I've been a Cardano enthusiast and holder since 2017. So I'm just about as excited as I can be with the release of smart contracts. It feels like it's been this golden fleece that we're finally gonna get. I would say that obviously everyone is looking at the immediate win, which is smart contracts. But I actually think it's probably more interesting the solutions that is going to power. There's a lot of ideas which I think could have been realized on Ethereum if transaction costs were cheaper, if they were faster, especially in the developing world as well. We're really quite privileged that we can sit here and talk about $200 on gas. I mean, it's still a lot of money, even to someone with a lot of money, but to someone who is living in a developing economy, that really is it could be a serious amount of money that you just cannot afford to spend. So therefore, you're excluded from participating in decentralized finance. And that's not the founding principle of decentralized finance. So I think that's what's most exciting about Cardano, is that it will truly open up decentralized finance for not just people in, you know, like rich DeFi degens in the Western world and developing countries, but it's really going to open up DeFi to even, you know, developing countries, because the transaction costs are like a fraction of an ADA, which is like 40 cents or something. So I think that's probably one of the most exciting developments, and I think we'll grow faster because of that.